Hey, what's up? What's up, Crimson? How you doing? Lady Eve is here. Oh, Swiftblood. I hope Swiftblood shows up. Anybody know if Swiftblood's okay? Has anybody checked in with Swiftblood? Uh, Thank you. Yeah, I think we need to. I just heard, I don't know where, but I did hear sometime today that there was a tornado in Florida. So if anybody's heard from Swiftblood, let me know because I'm real worried. Filling out job applications? Oh. Nightmare. Emmy got cut up and should be here? Okay. Good. Almost home? Okay. Good. At least I know, because I messaged Swiftblood earlier. I was like, you good? And I didn't hear anything back, and I was like, they're dead. I just know it. I can feel it in my bones. And I get super paranoid after national disasters. Drowning in what? Don't do that. We had a warning, but I haven't seen anything touch that. See, I got so paranoid because every single time the temperature like goes drastically from like warmer to lower, lower to warmer, and then it says that there's gonna be winds, like high. There's like a wind advisory. I'm like, this is it. I can feel it. The house. We're gonna lose the house. And so like I can't sleep. So I was in here like half the night just repeatedly checking the weather, and I was like, I can't go to sleep. I have to be near an open window so I can hear them sirens, or else I'm not gonna know. Kind of took cover in a gas station. You're safe? That's good. We just got a massive amount of rain and wind. Yeah, we got a lot of heavy rain and some wind, but that was. Yeah. But I was super worried we were gonna get a tornado. But I'm doing better. It's the paranoia is going down. We are talking about the snow squall. Thank you. I like this hoodie here. You're in it right now. Well, be careful. Stay safe. Stay warm if you can. Take cover. Cause geez, I was more worried about tornadoes than I was snow. But I also recognize that where I live, we are not prepared for snow. Like, they never prepare for snow. No one's out salting the road. No one does. So every time it does snow, like, we don't get a whole lot, but everything freezes over and you can't drive. It's rough out here. Oh. Stay safe, for reals. From Minnesota. Okay. Roads are currently ice. Yeah. I'm sure. It was. No, it was 5 miles from the tornado. Jesus. Yeah, no age requirement. We just read books. This is a book club, by the way. For people who don't know, I read books every week. If you're not about it, just gonna warn you. Chicago wasn't as bad as I said it was gonna be. That's I would much prefer that. I would love for them to like at least warn us of what could possibly potentially happen and it not happen than to have it be way worse than they said it was going to be and we don't know about a tornado until it touched down 10 minutes from my house. Like I would that's always way more of a relief than no, it's just gonna be some storm, and then there's a tornado headed your way, 10 minutes, and we're like, cool. It's like emotional whiplash. What's the like goal? I don't really have like a like goal necessarily. I guess it's whatever you want to make it. I'll leave that up to you guys. Denny's here. Hi, Denny. I don't know. I don't know. I legitimately do not know. I don't super keep track of that because it's funny. That seems like something you guys would do. I'll get you to it. Well, thank you. Emmy's here. I'm glad you're here, Emmy. This is just the pre-show right now. So yeah, first live of 2024. I would have gone live last Tuesday, but thank you for bearing with me. I wasn't doing so great mentally. I always have some bad spot in between November to New Year where, like, I don't know, it all kind of hits me and I have like a little mental health dip. So thanks for being super understanding about that. You all are always the best about that. Every time I have mental health issues, you're just like, yeah, you just take care of it, throw your phone in a lake, it doesn't matter, we'll still be here when you get back. And I'm like, cool. Like, almost aggressively supportive. I like that. That's nice. But I also, like, extra wanted to save this chapter for when I was feeling better, because this is my two favorite chapters that we're going to read today out of Map of Days. If you don't know, we are reading Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. We are on Map of Days, which seems kind of crazy, because at this point it's spanned across multiple books. And this is the fourth one, and we are on Chapter 7, and Chapter 7 and Chapter 8 are my two favorite chapters. They are Enoch heavy, and you will see why I like them, but it's going to be a fun time. If you want to look it up, it's by Ransom Riggs. This is book 4, so if you want to check it out, you can go to my YouTube. I have almost all of the previous books uploaded onto the YouTube. It's missing one chapter from the last book that I have finished and not uploaded because it has me singing in it, and I don't like it. But I know it's not ever going to get to a point where I'm going to like it, so I'm like, just post it, it'll be fine, someone will dig it. Don't worry about it, you never have to listen to it again. You've already edited it, so it doesn't matter. And once I get over that, which should be in the next couple days. Oh, God. Oh, it is a 1K. Sorry, by the time I looked up, I missed it. Oh, man. Yeah, no, don't worry about the likes too much. We're not super concerned about it, but I appreciate it all the same. But yeah, Chapter 7 and Chapter 8, we're going to get through both today, because Chapter 7 is a little bit short, but I think you'll like it. It's kind of a feel-good time, but it does set up kind of on a cliffhanger. But should be a fun time if you want. This is my favorite chapter of all time. So this one could just cue like the It's Always Sunny music, and it's like the gang goes to Walmart, which pretty much sums it up. If you thanks, call sign. Thanks, Witcher. Appreciate you showing up. Getting the likes up. And if you weren't here last time, okay, 2 weeks ago, if you showed up last week and were confused, that's fine. We didn't do anything last week, so you're good. You're caught up. But basically, the setup plotline to this book in its entirety kind of is Jacob and the rest of the Peculiars don't like their jobs given to them by the Imbrans, and they want to scope out something else. So they get a hold of Jacob's grandpa's old partner, buddy, mysterious guy, who gives them a package and wants them to go deliver it, and they chose that instead. So now it's become a waiting game of which peculiar kids are going to go with him, which ones are going to rat him out, which ones agree and which ones don't. And so that is where we're at now. Cell towers are jack kind of spotty around here. Jeez. Stay safe, Swiftlight. I don't want to distract you too much, but for real, let us know when you get home safe. Let us know what's going on. I'm a little bit worried. And if you're in crazy weather, take care out there. Stay safe. Anyway, who wants to get crack-a-lacking on this chapter? 2 chapters. Are we ready to go? Sweet. Get your tea ready. Get your cat. Get a comfy blanket or a pillow. And if you're Swiftblood, stay safe. Chapter 7. I was packing a bag in my room later that night when my eyes stopped on something. The maps plastered on the wall above my head. There were layers upon layers of them, taped and tacked over one another in a big mosaic that had become, over time, little more than wallpaper to me. But I noticed something now that grabbed my attention, and I stopped what I was doing to climb onto my bed. I stood on my pillows to study a little drawing that peeked out from under 3 intersecting National Geographic maps. A cartoon alligator sipping a cocktail. I untacked the maps that were on top of it and peeled them away to find an old placemat from the Melody. The one with the map of Florida on it. The Melody used to give out crayons for kids to draw while they ate, and my grandfather and I had used them to decorate this placemat. I had forgotten about that day, or that this map was even here. But now I saw what Abe had done. It was mostly his steady hand that had drawn on this map. Right in the center, he had circled Mermaid Fantasyland, just as H's wet glass had. Abe had also drawn a little skull and crossbones beside it. Deep in the Everglades swamp, he had doodled a school of fish with legs, or were they people with fish heads? He had also drawn spiral shapes in several places around the state, and if I remembered the legend from Miss Peregrine's now lost map of days correctly, that meant loop here. There were a few other symbols I couldn't decipher too. We don't make maps, H had said. But if that was one of the Hollow Hunter's laws, Abe had broken it by drawing me this one, and in doing it, he had taken a risk. The question was why. I took the map down carefully, then I scoured the rest of the wall for anything Abe had drawn on. What other breadcrumbs had he left for me, hiding in plain sight? I worked myself into a frenzy, taking down anything that had been annotated or added to. I found a few maps that had been drawn from scratch on blank construction paper, but they weren't labeled, and there were no boundary lines around them with shapes I could recognize. There was a AAA map of Maryland and Delaware that had markings on it, so I folded it and stacked it with the Melody map. There were a couple of postcards pinned to the wall from places Abe had traveled through. Motels, roadside tourist traps, towns I'd never heard of. Abe only stopped traveling when I was about 11. Despite my parents' objections, he used to go on road trips by himself to visit friends out of state. And while he never bothered to call my dad to check in, he would always send me postcards from the places he went. I didn't know if they had any relevance, but I stacked them with the maps, just in case, and slid them all inside a hardcover book. Then I placed that in my duffel bag, on top of the changes of clothes I'd packed. Earlier in the day, I'd gathered up whatever cash I could find around the house, which wasn't a lot, except for the wad my parents kept in a sock in one of their dresser drawers. I wrapped it in a rubber band and packed it into my old plastic Pokemon lunchbox with some basic toiletries, including a package of Tums and a bottle of Pepto-Bismol in case we spent any appreciable time near a Hologast. I was about to zip the whole thing shut when I thought of something. I knelt down and pulled Abe's operations log out from under the bed. I picked it up and weighed it in my hand, trying to decide whether to take it. It was fat and heavy and full of sensitive information that H would almost certainly not want me exposing to possible loss or theft. I knew I probably should have locked it in Abe's bunker for safekeeping. But what if I needed it? It was packed with photos and clues about how Abe and H had done their work. It was a gold mine. I pulled the clothes and toiletries from the duffel, then took the maps and postcards out of the hardback and tucked them into the back flap of the logbook instead. I shoved the logbook into the bottom of the duffel bag, stacked the clothes and toiletries on top, zipped the bag shut, and test lifted it with one hand. It was like curling a 30-pound dumbbell. I dropped it onto the bed. It bounced and rolled onto the floor and made a thud that shook the room. I hardly slept a wink that night. In the morning, I rose at dawn and snuck out with Emma. We drove to Abe's house, threw open the hatch in the floor of his office, and descended into the bunker to see what undiscovered thing lay waiting for us there. I was hoping, as H had implied, that it would be a car with 4 working doors, but I could not fathom how a car would fit inside a tunnel too small for me to stand up in, or how I would drive it out again even if one did. We'd only been looking around my grandfather's subterranean workshop for a few minutes when we found the handle in the wall. It was partially hidden in a darkened gap between 2 metal shelves. I reached in and twisted the handle, and a door in the wall opened outward, moving the shelves with it and revealing a new section of tunnel. We ventured in, hunched over once again, as this tunnel was even more claustrophobically low-ceilinged than the other section. Emma lit a flame for light, and I propped the door with a metal box filled with freeze-dried breakfast entree from one of Abe's shelves. After 100 feet or so, we came to a narrow concrete staircase. It led to a thick metal door, which slid to the side rather than swinging in or out. Beyond it was a closet, a carpeted household closet. I slid open its slatted door, and we walked out into a suburban bedroom. There was a bed with a bare mattress, a nightstand, and a dresser. Nothing on the walls. The windows were shuttered, the only light in the room filtering through cracks between the nailed-on boards. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there is a full page of this placemat map from the restaurant. The map of Florida. So that's fun. I'll post a bigger screenshot for Jen later to see if they know. We were in another house in Abe's cul-de-sac. "What is this place?" said Emma, tracing a finger trail on the dusty dresser. "It could be a safe house, I said, peeking into the attached bathroom, empty but for a single pink hand towel hung by the sink. "Think anyone's here?" Emma whispered. "Probably not, but keep your guard up anyway." We crept down a short hallway, looking into other rooms as we passed them. It was sparsely furnished in the style of a model home or a chain motel, anonymous, but enough to create the illusion that somebody actually lived here. I went to the end of the hall and took a left turn into what I knew would be the living room. The layout was identical to my grandfather's house, and it gave me a strange feeling of déjà vu to know every inch of a place I'd never set foot in. The living room windows were boarded too, so I walked to the front door and put my eye to the peephole. There was Abe's house, a few 100 feet away, across the street. Then we came to the garage, and it was clear the moment we stepped inside that the house's only real purpose was this room. The walls were covered with pegs and shelves and all manner of tools and spare parts. In the center of it all, surrounded by floodlights, 2 cars were parked side by side. "I'll be damned," I said. He did have cars. One was a white Caprice Classic. It looked like a bar of soap on wheels and was unfailingly popular with Florida's elderly drivers. I recognized it as my grandfather's car, the one he used before my parents made him stop driving. I thought he'd gotten rid of it, but here it was. The other was a muscular black coupe that looked like a 60s era Mustang, but with wider hips and swoopier lines. I wasn't sure what it was exactly, because there was no badging on the car to identify it. The Caprice was for traveling incognito, I guessed. The other was for traveling fast and in a bit of style. "You really didn't know he had these?" Emma asked. "None. I knew he used to drive, but my dad made him give it up when he failed a vision test at the DMV. He used to go on these solo trips, days at a time, sometimes weeks, just like when my dad was a kid, only less frequent. To go from that to needing me and my parents to drive him to the grocery store and the doctor, that must have been hard." Though it occurred to me, even as I was saying it, that Abe may never have stopped driving at all. He just started keeping it a secret. "And yet he kept the cars," said Emma. "And maintained them," I said. The cars, unlike everything else in the house, were a little dusty, but immaculately clean otherwise. He must have snuck out here every so often to work on them. Shine them, change the oil, so they'd be easily accessible, but hidden from my family. "It makes you wonder why he bothered," Emma said. "Fighting hollows?" I asked. "Having a family," she replied. I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't say anything. I opened the Caprice and ducked inside, popped the glove box, and found the registration card. It was still current, renewed just a few weeks before Abe died, but it wasn't in his name. "Ever heard of Andrew Gandy?" I said, handing the card to Emma through the open door. "Must have been a false name he used." She handed the card back. "God." I shut the glove box and got out of the car. Emma had a funny look on her face. "What?" "I wonder if Abe was even his real name," she said. It wasn't a crazy question, but for some reason, it stung me. "It was." She looked at me. "You sure about that?" In her eyes was an unasked question. If Abe was capable of such deceit, was I? "I'm sure," I said and turned away. "It's almost 9. Let's pick a car and go." "You're driving. You choose." It was an easy choice. The Caprice was more practical. It had 4 doors rather than 2, more trunk space, and would attract less attention on the road. But the other car was much, much cooler and faster looking. And after 3 whole seconds of deliberation, I pointed to it and said, "This one." I've never been on a road trip before, just across the fat belly of Florida to visit cousins in Miami, which hardly counted, and the idea of doing one in this car was too tempting to resist. We got in. I opened the garage door and started the engine, which roared to life with a glorious throaty growl that made Emma startle. As I backed it out of the driveway into the street, I saw her roll her eyes. "Just like Abe," she said, shouting over the engine. "What is?" "To have a car like this for secret missions." I left the car idling in the street, parked my parents' car in Abe's garage, and closed the door. Then I got back into the mystery coupe, grinned at Emma, and stamped my foot down on the accelerator. The engine barked like an animal as we peeled out and were thrown back into our seats. Sometimes you have to have a little fun, even on a secret mission. While Emma and I were gone, Miss Peregrine had returned from her all-night meeting in the acre and collapsed in her bed upstairs, one of the rare times I'd known her to actually sleep. We convened all the kids in a downstairs bedroom and shut the door so our voices wouldn't wake her. I asked for a show of hands. "Who's in?" Enoch, Olive, and Millard raised their hands. Claire, Hugh, Bronwyn, and Horace did not. "Missions make me nervous," said Horace. "Claire," Emma said, "why isn't your hand up?" "We already have missions," she said. "I'm head of lunch and dessert distribution to all the loop reconstruction teams in Belgium." "That's not a mission, Claire. That's a job." "You're delivering packages," Claire sneered. "How is that a mission?" "The mission is helping a peculiar in danger," said Millard, "after the packages are delivered." "Bronwyn, what about you?" I said. "In or out?" "Lying to Miss P makes me uncomfortable. Shouldn't we tell her about this?" "No!" everyone but Claire said in unison. "Why not?" asked Bronwyn. "It makes me uncomfortable too," I said. "But she'll stop us from going, so we can't." "If we really want to help Peculiar Kind, this is how," said Emma. "By becoming the next generation of fighters, not posing for photo opportunities in the acre." "Or asking permission every time we want to do anything," said Enoch. "Exactly," said Millard. "The headmistress still treats us like children. We're all nearly centuries old, for bird's sake, and it's about time we started acting our age. Or half our age, anyway. We've got to start making decisions for ourselves." "Just what I've been saying for years," said Enoch. My peculiar friends had changed, I realized, but Miss Peregrine's way of parenting them had not. They had gotten a big dose of freedom after being chased from Cairnholm, as had I, and their time in the acre, under the supervision of not just one, but more than a dozen Imbrans, had left them feeling suffocated. They had grown up more in the past few months than they had in the past half century. "What about you, Apiston?" Emma said to Hugh. "I would come," he said, "but I've got my own mission to do." We knew what he meant without having to say it. He would be searching the Panlupticon for Fiona. "We understand," I said. "We'll keep a lookout for her on our travels." He nodded heavily. "Thanks, Jago." They were all in except for Horace, Claire, and Bronwyn. And then Bronwyn changed her mind. "Okay, I'll come. I don't like lying, but if we're really out to help a peculiar child whose life is in danger, and lying is the only way to do that, then it would be immoral not to lie, wouldn't it?" "That idea went past smart and back to dumb," said Claire. "Welcome aboard," said Emma. All that was left was to choose our crew. I said we could only take 2, which elicited some groans of disappointment. Despite what I'd said the night before, I was a little worried about their one half of a normaling lesson and a potential lack of preparedness to face the modern world. And while I wanted and needed their help, I also needed to focus on our mission, not on explaining how crosswalks and elevator doors and simple interactions with modern normals worked. But instead of going into all that, which might have hurt their feelings, I claimed I didn't want to overload the car.
"Then pick me," said Olive. "I'm small, and I weigh next to nothing."
I imagined Olive forgetting to put on her shoes and having to chase after her like a lost balloon. "For this one, we need people who look older." I didn't say why, and she didn't ask. Emma and I talked in the corner for a minute, then announced our choices: Millard and Bronwyn. Bronwyn for her brute strength and reliability, and Millard for his mind, mapping abilities, and his ability to slip away when cornered, simply by taking off his clothes. The others were disappointed, but we promised to take them on future missions. "If there are future missions," said Enoch, "provided you don't muck this one up."
"And what shall the rest of us do, while you're gone?" asked Horace.
"Just do your assignments in the acre and act like nothing's wrong. You don't know anything about us or what we're up to."
"Yes, we do," said Claire. "And if Miss Peregrine asks, I'm telling her."
Bronwyn picked up Claire by the armpits and held her at eye level.
"Now, that is a dumb idea,"
she said, the threat in her voice both clear and surprising. Bronwyn always handled the 2 smallest peculiars with kid gloves. Claire's backmouth growled at Bronwyn.
"Put me down,"
she shouted with her normal mouth. Bronwyn did, but Claire looked chastened anyway. Message received.
"When Miss Peregrine wakes up, she'll start asking where we are," said Emma. "She really just went to sleep?"
It was very out of character for an Embrin, even after an all-nighter.
"I may have blown just a pinch of dust into the room," said Millard. "Millard," Horace cried, "you scoundrel!" "Well, that will certainly buy us some time," Emma said. "With any luck, she won't even notice we're gone until tonight."
"Now, this," Millard said, slapping the hood of the black coupe as we stood around it in the driveway, "is a proper road journey car."
"It isn't," said Bronwyn. "It's too flash. And it's British."
It was cool looking, certainly, but it wasn't what I thought of as a super attention grabbing. It wasn't bright red, and it didn't have shiny rims or a big spoiler like a lot of sports cars did.
What's wrong with being British? Asked Emma. It'll break down a lot. That's what they say about British cars, anyway. Would Abe really have used this car for rescue missions if it was mechanically unsound? Said Millard.
Abe knew lots about cars, including how to fix them, said Enoch. He was leaning against the trunk with a bag over his shoulder and a smug smile on his face. You're not coming with us, I said. There's no room. Did I say I wanted to come? Said Enoch.
You look like you want to come, said Emma. Now move.
I nudged him aside so we could open the boot, and load our bags, but after 20 seconds of fiddling around, I realized I didn't know how. Allow me, said Enoch, and he twisted a knob between the taillights that popped the trunk. Aston Martin. He caressed the side panel as he walked the length of the car. Abe always did have style.
I thought it was some kind of Mustang, I said.
How dare you, said Enoch. This is a 1979 Aston Martin V8 Vantage. 390 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. Top speed 170 miles per hour. A real beast. Britain's first true muscle car.
Since when do you know so much about cars? I said, especially ones made after 1940. Magazines and manuals via mail order, said Millard, delivered to his post office box in present-day Cairnholm. Oh, he loves cars, said Emma, rolling her eyes. Never actually drove one, mind you. But don't get him started on what's under the bonnet.
I'm fascinated by the mechanical as well as the biomedical, Enoch said. Organs, engines. Swap oil for blood and they aren't so different. And I can resurrect a dead engine without needing a jar of hearts, which is a good thing because this car, being British and nearly 40 years old, is notoriously unreliable unless religiously maintained. And with Abe being dead and all, I'm fairly certain that I'm the only person within 1,000 miles of here qualified to work on this car. Which is why, even though I don't want to, he tossed his bag into the boot alongside mine. You need me to come with you.
Just get in so we can go already, said Emma.
Shotgun, Enoch cried, diving into the passenger seat. It's going to be a very long trip, said Millard. I sighed. It seemed I had no choice. Our friends gathered in the driveway to see us off. We exchanged hugs and they wished us good luck, all but Claire, who sulked in the doorway. When will you be back? Asked Hugh. Give us a week before you start worrying, I said. Way ahead of you, said Horace. I'm worrying already. And that is the end of chapter 7. Like I said, short, but fun time. That is my favorite chapter for Enoch specifically. How many times have I talked about my car like it's a fucking person? And I'm like, of course, this clinches it, of course. And now, this next chapter, cue that It's Always Sunny. The gang goes to Walmart, because that's what this is. The music in the back makes it better? Yes! I specifically was looking for the vibe. Road trip vibes. I was wondering if I could do that, but I didn't want to bring it up before we hit this chapter because I wanted it to be fresh, right? But I was definitely like, I should work on my car and Enoch. All right, who's ready for chapter 8? Not here. This is all free, baby. Chapter 8. We drove down the quay and over the bridge, then out toward the boonies and the far edge of town. That's where we would pick up Interstate 75 and head north. The first stop was Flaming Man, whatever that was, which H had indicated could be found inside the wet glass ring he'd made on the Melody map. That narrowed down our destination to about 30 square miles in the swampy middle of the state, a few hundred miles to the north. I was at the wheel, consumed with the task of mastering my grandfather's powerful but quirky old car. It had heavy steering and lurched around corners in a way that made my heart skip, and all its dials and gauges were located in odd places. Emma sat beside me in the passenger seat, a regular, non-peculiar road atlas of Florida spread across her lap. Millard had also brought along Peculiar Planet, though its maps were very out of date. I had insisted Emma be our navigator because it gave me an excuse to force Enoch into the back seat and to spend the next couple of days glancing over at her face instead of his. Enoch sulked out the window and periodically gave the back of my seat a kick. Millard sat beside him, squished against Bronwyn, who had to turn diagonally so her long legs would fit.
From here to the ring on the map, it's about 300 miles, said Emma, looking from the cartoon map to the road atlas and back. If we don't stop, we could be there in 5 hours. We've got to stop sometime, said Bronwyn. You haven't bought us modern clothes yet.
She was right. Everyone I'd taken shopping had stayed behind. The ones who had come were still wearing the clothes they had arrived in. Their outfits would soon become a liability. We'll stop soon, I said. I just want to put some distance between us and Miss Peregrine first. Where do you think the portal is? Asked Enoch. Very far? Could be, I said. Will you be able to stand that much driving? Asked Millard. I'll have to, I said. We couldn't drive in shifts because my friends didn't have licenses, and besides that, Millard was invisible, which would get us pulled over instantly. Bronwyn was too scared to drive, and Enoch had no experience. Only Emma was competent behind the wheel, but again, no license. So, it was all me. Just keep me caffeinated, I said. I'll help, said Enoch. I'll get us there a lot faster than you could, too. Forget it, I said. You can take a driver's ed class when we get back, but this is no time to learn. I don't need lessons, he said. I already know everything about how cars work. It's not the same. He kicked my seat again, hard. What was that for? Driving like a granny. We happened, just then, to arrive at the interstate on-ramp. I swung the car onto it and floored the accelerator. The engine wailed and I let out a giddy laugh, and by the time we'd merged onto the highway, Enoch was screeching at me to slow down. I checked my mirrors for police cars, eased back on the gas, and pushed all the window buttons. Ooh, Bronwyn cooed as her window slid down. Fancy. Music? I said. Yes, please, said Emma. Abe had a radio and some ancient kind of tape deck. There was already a cartridge inside, so I hit play. A moment later, a wailing guitar and a huge voice came crashing out of the speakers. Joe Cocker singing with a little help from my friends. After 3 minutes, I was convinced no music had ever sounded as good, and my friends, who were all grinning and bopping in their seats, the wind in their hair, seemed to agree. There was something in the act of shouting along to that particular song with these particular people while driving that particular car that gave me a crazy, spine-tingling high like I'd never experienced before. It was like we were claiming the world for ourselves and our lives as our own. This is mine, yes, and I'll do with it what I like. It felt so strange and unnatural to think of Miss Peregrine as anything other than our protector and champion, but today she felt like an adversary. When she found out that we had left, it was inevitable that she would come looking for us, and she'd do it the best way she knew how, from the air. Her speed, the heights she could fly to, her precise long-distance vision, and her inbuilt radar for peculiar children meant that we wouldn't be hard to find if we were within 100 miles and out in the open. That's why I didn't stop at all for the first 3 hours, not even to let Bronwyn use the bathroom. I wanted to put as much distance between the headmistress and us as possible. After 200 miles, I finally relented to the rising chorus of complaints from the back seat, but even then I was wary, glancing at the clouds as we exited the highway into a shopping center parking lot. I saw Emma do the same thing. I filled the Aston's tank while the others used the bathroom in the filling station's convenience store. Through its big windows, I could see the clerk and a few other customers checking out my friends as they waited their turn for the single restroom. Craning their heads, whispering to one another, outright staring. One guy even took a picture of them with his phone. "We've got to buy you some modern outfits," I said when they came back outside. Now, no one objected. And anyway, I had chosen this highway exit with that in mind. Across the street from the filling station was the biggest of all big box stores, a 24-hour super Walmart. It was the retail mothership, a city unto itself. "My God, what is this place?" Millard said as we pulled into its endless parking lot. "It's just a store," I said. "A big one." We crossed the parking lot to the entrance, and a bank of automatic doors hissed open before us. Enoch leapt with fight-or-flight surprise. What? He shouted, raising his fist. Now people were staring. We hadn't even made it inside. I took my friends aside and explained about motion sensors and sliding doors. "What's wrong with using a handle to open a door?" Enoch asked, irritated and embarrassed. "It's hard if you have a lot of stuff," I said. "Like this guy." I pointed at a man pushing a full cart out through the whooshing doors.
"Why would anyone need so many things?" said Emma.
"Maybe he's stocking up for an air raid," said Enoch. "I think you'll understand once we're inside," I said. I'd grown up shopping at stores like Walmart, so the essential strangeness of them had never fully occurred to me, but as my friends followed me inside and came to a dead stop at the checkout stands, shock and wonder on their faces, I began to understand. Aisles stretched into a hazy distance. A kaleidoscopic array of items sang out for attention from every shelf. A small army of sullen stock clerks patrolled in uniforms emblazoned with giant yellow smiley faces. It was 1,000 times larger than the corner store Millard had stolen groceries from. Of course my friends were overwhelmed.
"Just a store," he says,
Emma said, craning her neck to take it all in.
This isn't like any store I've ever seen.
Enoch whistled. More like a blimp hanger. I grabbed a cart and, with some cajoling, managed to get us moving again, if not quite in the right direction. Once they got over the sheer size of the place, they marveled at the huge and bizarre variety of things for sale. I was attempting to navigate us toward the clothing section, but my friends kept getting distracted, splitting off from the group and plucking random things from shelves. "What's this?" Enoch said, waggling a pair of slippers with microfiber knobbles on the bottom. I took it from him and put it back. "It's so you can dust the floor with your feet, I think."
"And this?"
said Emma, pointing at a box labeled Talking Bird Feeder, now with Bluetooth.
"I'm not really sure,"
I said, feeling like a harried mom herding toddlers.
"But we only have 72 hours to complete these tasks, so we shouldn't..."
"62 now," said Emma.
"Or maybe less."
A display of books came tumbling down at the end of the aisle, and I had to run and stop Millard, naked and thus invisible, from trying to write it again. I kept an especially watchful eye on Millard, or where I thought he might be, because I really didn't want to lose an invisible boy in an Allmart. Our momentum never lasted long. We'd just moved past the Bluetooth bird feeders when Enoch got hung up in the sporting goods aisle. "Ooh, this little sweetheart would make quick work of a chicken's rib cage," he cooed at some folding knives in a locked case. Emma kept asking why. Why did we need so many varieties of everything? What was it all for? She found the women's beauty aisle especially vexing.
"Who would need so many different kinds of skin cream?" she asked, plucking a box labeled Extra Firming Anti-Aging Overnight Renewal Serum from a shelf. "Is everyone ill with skin diseases? Has there been a plague of skin-related deaths?"
"Not that I know of," I said.
"It's very strange." "Easy for you to say, honey," said a lady with voluminous hair and hoop earrings who'd been standing nearby. "You've got skin like a baby."
Emma returned the box quickly to its shelf, and we slinked away. Millard didn't say much, because I begged him not to, but I could tell he was taking mental notes from the little sighs and hmms he made. How many lifetimes of loop days would it take, I wondered, for Millard to make a history of everything that happened in this place in a 24-hour period? When we finally made it to the closing section, I was feeling pressed for time. I worried about the ticking clock, about the normals who'd been staring since we walked in, about Miss Peregrine finding us if we stayed put too long. Even though we were hundreds of miles from my house and she was hopefully still sleeping off the effects of Mother Dust's powder. I barely paid attention to the clothes my friends put into our cart, and I only realized that I was hungry as we were checking out. Everyone else was, too, but rather than diving back into the store itself for food, we grabbed what we could from the checkout lane. Chocolate bars, Funyuns, candy.
"Immortal food,"
Emma said, noting the expiration date on the back of a bag of wild cherry Jim Jams.
"How novel."
We cleared the checkouts and headed for the bathrooms, where everyone ducked inside to change into the clothes they'd bought. As they emerged one by one, it was clear there was more work to be done. They were wearing the most normal clothes from the most normal store there was, but they did not yet look convincingly normal. Maybe they weren't comfortable, or I was so used to seeing them in their old clothes that the sudden change in their appearance threw me off. But for some reason, it looked like they were wearing costumes. All except Emma. She came out wearing tight black jeans, white Reebok Classics, and a billowy top the color of root beer. She looked beautiful, I thought, as she turned to frown at a mirror.
I look like a man.
You look great, and modern. She sighed and lifted the plastic bag into which her old dress had been rudely stuffed.
I miss this already. The fabric is so itchless, said Bronwyn, pulling at the gray Henley shirt we'd bought her. I can't get used to it.
Enoch emerged from the bathroom in thick-soled creeper sneakers, pajama bottoms with flaming skulls emblazoned on each knee, and a t-shirt that read, "Normal people scare me." Emma shook her head.
That's the last time you pick out your own clothes.
There was no time to return anything, so we walked out, somehow attracting even more stares than we did walking in. As we pushed our cart through the automatic doors, a loud, bleeping alarm sounded.
What's that?
Emma yelped.
We may not have, paid for everything, said Millard.
What? Why? I said. Two guys in blue vests were speed walking toward us.
Old habits die hard, Millard said. Never mind. Run for it.
He grabbed the cart from me and sprinted toward the car with it, and now easily 100 people were watching the cart apparently steer itself across the pavement, followed by a clutch of weird-looking kids and 2 loss prevention agents. We dove into the car with our bags. I jammed the key into the ignition and twisted it, and the car started with a loud bark that made me cringe. I floored the gas, tore down the aisle of cars, and through the 2 blue-vested agents who dove in opposite directions to avoid being run over.
If you're going to break the law, at least do it with a little panache, Millard, said Emma. You're not even trying. I knew about the cameras, said Millard. No one told me about the alarms.
After racing down the interstate for several miles and checking the rearview mirror constantly for police lights, I realized no one was chasing us. Eventually, we exited onto a little state road and veered away from the coast toward the heart of Florida. On the Melody map, H's ring had circled an area in the middle of the state that was crossed by only one major road, the one we were on now. Within that zone was Mermaid Fantasyland. I wasn't sure if that's where we would find Flaming Man, but it was the only thing marked on that section of the map. It made sense to start looking there.
Wait a minute, said Bronwyn from the back seat. We're heading away from the ocean now. Why would mermaids live in a swamp?
They aren't real, I said. It's just a cheesy old tourist trap.
Perhaps, said Millard. But Mermaid Fantasyland is also listed in Peculiar Planet.
He raised the guide to show it to me, then read from it.
Brand new Sindragoss-friendly attraction features delightful aquatic performances, time-looped accommodation nearby. Bring the kids. That doesn't mean the mermaids are peculiar, said Emma. It just means there's a loop in town. Or there used to be, said Millard. Remember, this guide is nearly 70 years old. Everything in it should be treated with the highest skepticism.
We drove on, the sun sinking lower in the sky, the road narrowing from 2 lanes in each direction to just one. We were entering a part of Florida that felt like a different state altogether. Away from the moneyed coast, there were no chain stores, no shiny new developments. The woods closed in from both sides, and in the occasional gaps there were signs for You Pick Strawberry Farms, free dirt, and bail bonds. Instead of cookie-cutter suburbs that spread out for miles, here there were small towns, clustered around intersections of roads. The bigger towns had fast food on the outskirts and a few blocks of dying Main Street in the middle. A venerable old bank, a shuttered movie theater, a storefront church. In every single town that had a stoplight, we caught the light red and had to sit and wait while old people on benches and pedestrians with nothing better to do stared at us like we were the most interesting thing that had ever come through. We came to dread those stoplights. At the third or fourth one, a young guy with a mullet and an open beer yelled, "Halloween's not till next month," at us and walked away cackling. A few miles later, we passed a fading billboard for Mermaid Fantasyland, and a few miles after that, we finally came upon it. A dirt field occupied by a few sad-looking tents, and in the distance, cinder block houses that might have been an office or staff headquarters. The entrance was blocked by a closed gate, so I parked along the shoulder of the road and we walked in. We crossed the field toward the tents. It didn't seem like anybody was around, but then we heard someone grunting and swearing from around the back of the nearest tent. "Hello?" I said, leading my friends toward the sound. Rounding the tent, we came upon two people in clown makeup. One had a frizz of blonde hair and was dressed in a mermaid costume, and the other was awkwardly carrying her, toddling backward with his arms linked around her waist, since her legs and feet were encased inside the costume. And here is the picture. Thought clowns were creepy. We're bumping it up a little with mermaid clowns.
"Can't you read?" the mermaid said, glaring at us. "We're closed."
The other clown didn't say a word or even look in our direction. "We didn't see a sign," I said. "If you're closed, why are you in costume?" asked Enoch.
"Costume? What costume?"
She wiggled her obviously fake tail and laughed strangely. Then her smile vanished.
"Get lost, okay? We're renovating."
She elbowed the clown carrying her.
"George, keep moving."
The other clown resumed lugging her toward the tent.
"Wait,"
said Emma, following them.
"We read about you in the guide."
"We're not in any guide, honey."
"Yes, you are," Emma said. "Peculiar Planet."
The mermaid's head snapped toward her.
"George, stop."
He stopped. She studied us for a moment, suspicious.
"Where'd you get one of those old things?" "We just found it," Emma said. "It says there are some things to see here." "You don't say." "There are some things to see for the right kind of people." "What kind of people would you say you are?" "That depends. What kind are you?" "George, put me down."
He did, and the mermaid balanced on the bend in her tail while leaning against George with one arm. The tail flexed muscularly rather than crinkling like a costume would have.
"We're in show business, but it's been a while since we've had an audience worth performing for." She gestured to the tent flap. "Would you care to see the show?"
She seemed to have made up her mind that we were peculiar, which made me suspect that she was too. Her tone had shifted from bitter and prickly to sickly sweet.
We're only interested in the fire act, said Bronwyn. The mermaid cocked her head. We don't have a fire act. Do I look like a fire act? Then who's the flaming man? Said Bronwyn. We have something to give him, I said. That's why we're here. A look of surprise flickered across her face, then was quickly suppressed. Who sent you? She said, her fake warmth gone. Who do you work for? I remembered H's warning not to mention his name. Nobody, I said. We're on private business. George cupped his hand over the mermaid's ear and whispered something. You're not from around here. I can see that. Sweet again. There's no flaming anything in our show, but why don't you stay a while and enjoy the other parts? We really can't, said Emma. You're sure you don't know anything about a flaming man? Sorry, kiddos. But we do have 3 mermaids, a dancing bear, and George here can juggle pickaxes. Just then 2 people came around the corner of the tent. Another man in clown makeup and someone in a bear costume. We'll throw in dinner, the mermaid was saying, not taking the hint as we backed away. Dinner and a show? What could beat all that? A song, answered the clown, and he began to grind a box organ that was strapped around his waist, which the bear, who was wearing the most horrible, handmade, skull-like bear mask, took as his cue to start singing. But the words he sang were in some strange language, and his cadence was so slow, and his voice so deep, that I began to feel immediately sleepy. And I could see from my friends' nodding heads that the song was having a similar effect on them. Here's a picture of the Scary Bear Man, Scary Bear Costume Man. Right? So far through souvniti, he sang. Svaturai Holgum. We started to back away. We can't, I said, the words coming slow and thick. We have to. Best show in town, the mermaid said, wobbling toward us on her tail. For I full and peak, sang the bear man. Fool on after all. What's happening to me? Bronwyn said dreamily. My head feels like candy floss. Mine too, said Millard, and when his voice came suddenly out of the air, the mermaid and the bear and the 2 clowns all jumped, then looked at us with a new kind of hunger. If there had been any doubt as to our peculiarness before, Millard erased it. Somehow we made ourselves run, pushing and pulling one another, stumbling through the field, and though they didn't try to stop us physically, with their hands and their bodies, getting away felt like an almost impossible task, like breaking free from 100 giant spider webs. Once we made it to the gate, those webs seemed to break, and our speech and our wits returned to us. We fumbled the car door open. I started the engine. We shot away, the tires spitting an arc of dirt.
Oh man, I'm out of water.
Who were those awful peculiars? Asked Bronwyn. And what were they doing to us?
It felt like they were trying to crawl inside my brain, said Enoch. Oh, I can't shake the feeling.
They must have been why Abe marked the map with a skull and crossbones, Emma said. See?
She held up the Melody map that Abe had annotated and showed the others.
If this place is dangerous, why did H send us here? Bronwyn asked.
Maybe it's a test, said Millard. I'm sure it is, I said. The question is, did we pass? Or was that just the beginning? As if on cue, I glanced in my rearview mirror to see a police car coming up fast behind us. Cops, I said. Everyone act normal.
Do you think they know about Millard stealing from that store?
Said Bronwyn. No way, I said. That was too far back. Still, it was clear they were following us. They rode my bumper so hard I thought they might tap it. Then the road widened into a passing lane, and they poured on the speed and pulled up alongside us. But they didn't turn on their siren or their roller lights. They didn't shout over the loudspeaker for me to pull over. They just stayed even, and the driver's elbow at his window, real casual, and stared.
What did they want? Bronwyn said.
Nothing good, said Emma. The other strange thing about these cops was their patrol car. It was old, 30, maybe 40 years old. They didn't make them like that anymore, I pointed out. Hadn't for a long time.
Maybe they can't afford new ones, Bronwyn said.
Maybe, I replied. The cops braked and fell back. I could see the driver speaking into a CB radio as he receded in my mirror. Then they made a sharp turn off onto some dirt road and were out of view. That was so strange, I said. Let's get out of here before they come back, said Enoch. Portman, quit driving like my man and stomp that right pedal. Good idea, I said and sped up. But a few miles later, the engine developed an alarming rattle and a red light flashed on the dashboard.
Oh, what the hell? I muttered.
Could be a simple fix, Enoch said, but I won't know until I have a look. And here is the police car. Old cop car.
Oh.
Yeah. We had just passed a sun-faded billboard that read, Welcome to Stark. Population 502. Beyond it was a handmade sign that read, Snakes for sale. Pets or meat. The car's rattle grew steadily louder. I really did not want to stop in the town of Stark, population 502, but it seemed we had little choice. So I pulled into a truck wash with mostly deserted parking lot, and we all got out to watch Enoch poke around under the hood. It's the strangest thing, he said, emerging after a brief investigation. I see which part failed, but I can't understand what happened to it. It should last 100,000 miles. Do you think somebody tampered with it? I said. Enoch scratched his chin, transferring a smear of engine oil to his face. I don't see how that's possible, but I'm not sure how else to explain it.
We don't care how it broke, Emma said. Only whether you can fix it. And how fast, Bronwyn said, glancing at the darkening sky.
It was getting toward evening, and thunderclouds were gathering in the distance. It was shaping up to be a nasty night. Of course I can do it, Enoch said, puffing his chest, though I might need a bit of help from the human blowtorch here. He cocked his head toward Emma. How long depends on a few things. Evening, said a new voice, and we turned to see a boy standing a little ways away on a rise where the parking lot met a field of wild grass. He looked about 13. He had brown skin and wore an old-style shirt and flat cap. He spoke softly and walked more softly still, so much that none of us had heard him approach.
"Where'd you come from?" Bronwyn said. "You scared me." "Over yonder," the boy said. He pointed to the field behind him. "My name's Paul. You need some help?"
Not unless you have a twin-choke downdraft carburetor for a 1979 Aston Martin Vantage, said Enoch.
"No," said Paul, "but we got a place you can hide that thing while you tinker with it."
That got our attention. Enoch drew his head out from under the hood. And who are we supposed to be hiding from? Paul studied us for a moment. He was engulfed in shadow, silhouetted against the sky's last light, and I couldn't read his expression. He cut a strangely authoritative figure for a boy his age.
"Y'all ain't from here, are you?" "We're from England," said Emma. "Well," he said, "around here, folks like us don't want to be out after dark unless they got a damn good reason to be." "What do you mean, like us?" said Emma. "Well," he said, "round here, you're not the first out-of-town peculiars to have an automobile break down along this particular stretch of road." "What did he?" said Miller, daring to speak for the first time. "Did you just say peculiar?" The boy didn't seem at all surprised to hear words emanating from the empty air. "I know where you are. I'm one too." He turned and began to walk into the field. "Come on. You don't want to be here when the people who sprung this trap come to see what they caught. And bring that car, too," he called over his shoulder. "I reckon the strong one can just push it." We watched him go, amazed but unsure of what to do. Our interactions with peculiars in this part of the world had left us wary. Then Emma leaned into me and said, "We should ask him about the—" And at that very moment, she said the words. They flashed into view in the distance. Beyond the field Paul was crossing, written in neon, "Flaming Man." It was a sign, a literal and actual one, made of neon. It had once read Flamingo Manor, but a few letters had burned out. The manor itself, or whatever it was mostly obscured by a stand of pine trees. Emma and I looked at each other, thunderstruck and smiling. "Well," she said, "you heard the young man."
"Peculiars have to stick together," I said, and we all started after him. We followed the boy through the field, down a dirt path that was grassed over and hidden from the road. Bronwyn was at the rear, grunting as she pushed the hobbled Aston over uneven terrain. Aside from the occasional car passing along the main road or the hiss of air brakes at the truck wash behind us, the evening was quiet. We passed the old motel sign and cleared the trees, and there was the motel, or what was left of it. It had probably been the height of cool in about 1955, with its flying V roof, kidney-shaped pool, and detached bungalows, but now it did a passable impression of an abandoned building. The roof was patched with tarps. The courtyard was a jungle of overgrown trees. Junk cars were rusting in the pitted parking lot. The pool was empty, save a few inches of green water and a long, loaf-shaped thing that might have been, although it was hard to tell in the near dark, an alligator. "Don't mind the look of the place," said Paul. "It's nicer on the inside."
"There's no way I'm going in there," said Bronwyn.
"It's got to be a loop, dear," said Millard. "In which case I'm certain it's nicer on the inside." Loops were often downright frightening at their entrance points. It helped keep normal people away. And the Peculiar Planet Guide had mentioned looped accommodations near Mermaid Fantasyland. The Flaming Man must have been it. And if that weren't a good enough reason to follow the boy, we also couldn't leave until Enoch fixed the car.
"Look,"
Bronwyn hissed, and we turned toward the truck wash. The old police car was back, driving slowly past it, its searchlight panning from side to side.
"I'm going in,"
said Paul, his voice edged with a new urgency.
"I advise that you follow."
We took no convincing. And that is the end of chapter 8. Two whole chapters. One was pretty short. It was only like 12 pages, so I was like, we're gonna rip through that. And then there was another 20. And then I was like, okay, that's about 30 pages. That's my cap for when my vocal cords start going. Yeah, crazy ACAB people are scary. My brain said, "Hi, I'm Paul." Yeah, so, mermaid clowns. And the gang goes to Walmart. So, a lot of content squeezed into just those two little chapters. The next one is about another 30 pages, though. And I was like, we might finish early, but there's no way I'm going to get through 30 pages and talk slow enough, you know. Walmart is not normal. Circus Peculiars are the only creepy ones, which is saying something, as a majority of them have mentioned working in a circus. But I see what you mean. Yeah, the ones in the falling apart nightmare circus, definitely a problem. Definitely a problem. Those guys are the real ones to look out for. Anybody holding like an old box organ music box type style thing, get out of there. I've seen Black Butler. No, you gotta go. You get weird. That is completely unnecessary for a circus. Kohl's or Target is more normal. Kohl's? I thought Kohl's died. Maybe I just forget stuff, but like I forget JCPenney exists and shit like that to the point where I'm like, I thought they died. Like I'm like a person. I'm like the same way with like old school department stores. The same way people are like about like old celebrities where they're like, I thought he died. And, no, he's still alive. He just put out a new album. I'm the same way with like Dillard's. I'm like, I thought they died. I don't know why I'm like that. That is how it be, though. I'm like, I thought Dillard's died. I thought Kohl's died. I did think Kohl's died. I was like, have I even seen a Kohl's in like under 7 years? I don't think so. Kohl's is for my work shoes. We have one? Where is it at? Have I just not seen it? Maybe I think I'm department store blind where I don't see like JC Penney's. Where's it at? Where's this mysterious Kohl's at? Is it in the mall? Where is it at? The mall that is dying actively. I just can't remember seeing a Kohl's in like the past 7 years. The last time I like saw a Kohl's was when my grandmother was alive. And it was because my grandmother wanted to go to Kohl's. I remember malls from the 80s, 90s, but not. It's so dead. Good. How did I miss that? I go to Michael's actively to get yarn. I go there to get yarn all the time. How have I not noticed that there's a Kohl's right next to... I think I'm department store blind. Like, all the ones that are like... I do. I forget they exist. I didn't know there was a Kohl's. To me, it might as well be uninhabited. The only thing I ever see is the Michaels for the yarn, specifically. I go in, I get my yarn, I leave, I see nothing. Department store blind. And you know what? I think my life is a little bit better because of it. I don't want to go inside a Kohl's. But even then, considering how weird I am, it probably is where all the normal people are going. And if you're going there for work shoes, you're clearly still doing things. I'm just not a part of it. And I'm fine with that. I'm going to continue to have the same clothes that I've had for 10 years. Or routinely get shit online. Kohl's, way too many people. Yeah, no, I don't know why. I used to always get taken there when I was a kid. Like, my grandmother would be like, come on, let's go in the Kohl's, let's find you. And I'm like, no, 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 you don't understand, Grandma. I don't like it in there. And she'd be like, we have to get you school clothes. And I'm like... And I'm like, I'm fine, I have clothes. I hated trying on clothes as a kid. I was like, no, I don't want to. I worked at a Dillard's for 4.5 years. What? Then again, I know nothing about the town that I live in. I do not know anything about... other than how to deliver to places, I do not participate in the community at all. The only place I go to outside of work is the pet store for my cats. Like, even then, Hot Topic, maybe once every few months, I'm like, just to walk around and be like, okay, different. And then, you know, maybe I get something every once in a while. But every third time I go in there, I'm like, I could get pants. Like, I'm like, I could do with plain black pants. And even then, sometimes that's a stretch for a Hot Topic, which is wild. You can't find it. They're all, like, checkered on, like, one side of them or something. Do Hot Topic no more because of the lights? Yeah. I'm just like, I'm gonna go in here, get a pair of pants, maybe a t-shirt, leave. When the winter rolls around, like, normally, I didn't do it this year, actually. Normally, once per year, I go in, like, right around after, like Christmas or something, when all the sweaters, like the fall and the winter sweaters, are on clearance. Then, you can get some really cool hoodies on the cheap. Get really comfy sweaters, too, on the cheap. pretty cheap. That's how I do it. That's it. Even then, I don't participate in my community. I just realized we have an axe throwing place in town. And then within finding that out, realized I can never go there. Within like 3 minutes of finding out we have an axe throwing place, came to a conclusion that I am never allowed in there based on who works there. And I was super bummed. I went from really stoked to real upset in like 3 minutes. Anyway, I have also cat facts for you all, if you would like a cat fact of the day. We are currently going through different breeds of cats. And if you don't join me every single week and don't know what we're doing, I tell you a little bit about cats. This is almost entirely self-indulgent because I love cats. I have 3 of them, and they're all babies. All of them are adorable babies. No further information needed. So, one of them pushed open the door and slid into my lap halfway through the live, and I couldn't say anything, but then he flicked his tail, and then a little tuft flew up and into my mouth, and I have been dealing with it the entire time. Hold on. Okay. Spike. I don't know if you managed to see him sneak up here for a little bit, but I nearly stopped for a second. Someone. Thank you all for your lovely donations. I do love getting books, and this is possibly the one that has been keeping on the whole time. Can we just go over that? I received this. I gotta find the date. I know I had a list of everything that everybody had given me and everything, and like when they gave it to me, because I wanted to keep track of it, and now I don't, and then I lost the list. But the thing is, I do have all the gift receipts, but they don't have dates on them, which bums me out. They're on the wall. That's what I'm looking at, sorry. But, like, that's how much... I'm pretty sure my TikTok career will end before we finish the Cat Facts book. That is how much we have gone through. We've, every once in a while, picked out other ones in the book to, like, skip through, because they're only, like, little snippet segments, right? But that is how far we've gotten through. For the record. Isn't that crazy? Like, this is the gift that keeps on giving to everybody. And it's just kind of wild. I just wanted to go through exactly. So, this isn't even, like, just my gift at this point. Because I keep sharing all of it with you in little chunks. And it's just going to keep on keeping on. So, alright. We're going to go through the Chartreux. Like the British short-haired cat, the Chartreux cat is a distinctively European breed that was almost wiped out during World War II. It was saved by careful people who bred it back from almost nothing following the war. All true Chartreux cats are gray, whether light or dark. The breed dates back hundreds of years at least, appearing in painted portraits at a time when having cherished pets of that kind was much more rare. No one knows for sure where the breed originated, with mythical explanations dating back to the Crusades. The breed was, and often remains uncommon. Purebred chartreux cats are stocky, called husky by the Cat Fanciers Association, and their dense fur repels water. Although these cats are large and somewhat thick, they're graceful and smart. Chartreux cats are both talented at hunting and very agreeable family pets. All domestic cats were wild cats at some point, but some speculate that the Chartreux cat is directly descended from a wild cat brought back to France from far afield. This would explain the breed's tough, hardy temperament and body type, with short limbs and athletic grace. A cat with dense, water-resistant fur could dry faster, resist more injuries, and generally get less dirty. Little baby. So cute. Okay, sorry. I always got to show you the picture when there is one. Not all of them have pictures, which I think is a little... But pretty much all the ones that I think there was only one or two that they didn't include pictures for, but I think the rest of them do have pictures. No, I take that back. Javanese doesn't have a picture. Also, specifically, thank you super much to everybody sending me videos of Maine Coon cats. I love Maine Coon cats. Purebred Maine Coons, the gigantic ones, people keep sending me videos specifically of purebred Maine Coon cats that look like fucking dogs. And I'm like, I fucking love those. I fucking love Maine Coon cats, and I don't know if I could ever own one, because I feel like I just would not have the space for them to, like, be the big beautiful kitty that they need to be. And but I fucking love watching videos of them. They're so adorable. I fucking love those guys. I feel like one of those could, like, fight a coyote and win if it wanted to. And yeah, the problem is that they don't always want to. I've been getting, and now my algorithm has now started to catch up, where it's like, oh, did you like these? And I'm like, yeah, obviously. And then it's like, we will also, but then I keep getting advertisements for breeders selling purebred Maine Coons, and I'm like, this isn't what I wanted, but, like, I can't do that. And then now I'm like, my TikTok is getting me to a point where I'm like, well, that's only $1,500. And I'm like, with whose money, dipshit? Not yours. You don't have $1,500. You don't have $5. Shut up. $1,500. You're getting on a wait list for a Maine Coon kitten, you freak. And I'm like, you have 3 cats. Where's this cat gonna go? Next to Scout? God, if Scout's already scared of the kittens, that Maine Coon is gonna rock his world just by existing. Pawn's just gotta look at him silly and she'll steal his bed. Can you imagine Scout with a Maine Coon? He'll cry in the corner for 3 months. I know. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way our dumbass little... He's so cute. He's adorable. But, like, he cannot handle his shit. He has no idea how big he is. He has no idea he can defend himself. A bunny beat the shit out of that dog once. And now he's... In all honesty, like... And it's really funny because Nancy scares Scout and Scout scares Nancy. So it's kind of funny. But... Oh yeah, no couch. 0 couch. Oh yeah, it was a wild rabbit. Scout took off down the driveway when he was younger, and we had not fully gotten him to comprehend the deal of, like, you don't go past the garage, you stay in the backyard, you run around in the backyard, you don't go up front. And when he was younger, at one point, Dave let him out to go pee, and he took off in the wrong direction, and Dave was like, what the? Because he'd never actually tried to make a break for it, and he ran down the street. And so Dave's looking for the dog for a while. He was like yelling his name down the street, and he took off, and Dave couldn't find him, rolled around, and then finally, when he came back on our street, he found the dog just sort of like whimpering and like crawling back to the house. And what had happened was he found a little rabbit in the grass, and the rabbit scratched him on the face because it got startled. And Scout was just trying to sniff it, so Scout thinks everything's his friend. He's like, is this a new friend I can play with? And then the bunny scratched him in the nose. He freaked out and then cried all the way home. And then he never tried to run away again. Go figure. He got beaten up by a bunny. Like, he didn't even try. So, there's no way we could ever have a Maine Coon. Not with Scout here. Scout would cry. He would cry and then shit himself in that order. And there would be no helping it. If anything, eventually he gets used to cats. So, like, he'll play with Spike a little bit now, but, like, if Spike ever actually tried to assert dominance, I am absolutely 100% sure Scout would be like, okay, you win. Like, he would. He just immediately would. And so, like, with a Maine Coon, I feel like if you got used to a Maine Coon, like, they would be excellent play buddies. Like, they would both be running around the backyard and play fighting. It's just once that Maine Coon got a little too serious one time, Scout would be like, okay, yes, sir. I'm so sorry. I apologize, sir. Yes, sir. Like, and then that Maine Coon would forever be the boss. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Because that's how it was with Pawn. Scout used to be really excitable and run around, and he just stuck his nose in Pawn's business, and by business, I mean, you know, her underbelly and her undercarriage a couple too many times, and Pawn smacked him in the face, and from then on, it's been like, I'm sorry, ma'am. You're right, ma'am. I was in the wrong there. So sorry. My apologies. Like, and then never again. And then anytime she wants someplace to sleep, she just walks up and stares at him, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Did you want to sleep here? I'll just get up. I'll just get up and go. I'll lay on the floor. Yeah, that's fine. No, really. You take it. Every time. Pond will do it on purpose. Pond's a little bit of a bully. But she's like the crafty bully. Like when the kittens first, showed up and were like, I'm gonna steal her food. And then they started like stealing Pond's food or trying to steal Pond's food. Pond just let them. And then went and stole all their food. So you'd have two kittens fighting to get this elderly cat food that has a lower protein content. And then you have Pond who gets 2 bowls of high-calorie kitten food. And so I have to like chase the kittens away from the cat food and then chase the cat away from the kitten's food. And I'm like, eat the appropriate food, please. The appropriate food. Those 2 kittens, y'all are eating the equivalent of elderly grape nuts, okay? Because it's the only thing Pond can chomp on that's soft. And then Pond is like, I don't know. I'm thinking she's... And then it's funny. Then again, Pond can't get through that much of the kitten food very quickly because it's a little tougher than she's been used to. Her teeth aren't in their prime anymore, so she'll take like 2 bites and then she'll be like, I gotta go lie down. And then go flop in a corner. But like, she still gets like a decent chunk of it just by doing that for a while. And I'm like, you just scamming the system. Hi, Toby. Are you home, Swiftblood? Are you good? I couldn't always look up the most when I was reading there. You good? You safe? Go. Is Toby safe? Is Toby's good? Toby's a good boy? Tell Toby he's a good boy. If you have Toby. Safe now was worth the tornado. Jeez. All the dogs sound off in chat. Got another Corgo. Does Toby want to play with his ball? Aw. I like how this just becomes pet talk after the book is over. Like, we're just like, we did the book thing, and now we all talk about our pets for half hour. And I'm totally cool with that. I have nothing to report. My pets, however... Spike! Go get him. Go get him. Never mind. I was trying to get Spike to go up to Dad, and he just ran him under the desk. Oh, Spike's been in here a majority of the time. He pushed open the door within like 30 minutes, and then has been in here the entire time.
I told you I got you a book. It's finally been returned to you.
Thank you.
You can tell who I hung out with today.
This is my favorite book of all time, so I'm so glad you got it back.
Yeah. She's like, I am so sorry. My life's been hectic. I haven't forgotten about it. It's right here.
This is my favorite book of all time. This is my favorite book.
It's such a good book.
It's such a good book.
So good.
You say that like the year has been long.
Are you hungry?
It just started. I will get you a cat. Book review. I have that one too. I have all her books. I have every single book she's ever written. I will have every single book she's ever written. And I will read it fucking 10 times. I reread that book every single year. Every year. I also reread From Here to Eternity every single year. 'Cause it's great.
Will my cat eat my eyeballs?
If you... Yes.
It's always a good one to reread.
Oh my god, we gotta get this bitch a cat, or else... Where'd Spike go? Did he leave?
No, he's laying down there.
Spike, I need you to get in an easily reachable position, please.
Yeah.
We need to get a cat on this camera, apparently, or we're all gonna die. I'm so sorry. Hold on.
Here you go.
Here, well, okay, Pond. Pond is good. Pond is good. Say hi, Pond. Say hi. Say don't cry. The queen is here. Wait. Wait, don't roll.
Weirdo.
Yeah, see? That's comfortable. Why don't you let me hold you on camera more? Is it the light? She doesn't like the lights that much. But she's relaxing, so that's good. Purring mildly.
Yeah, you told him the secret.
No. Precious baby. Precious baby. She was in here right before the live, and then Dave picked her up and walked out. And I was like, my company. And he was like, company? And I was like, she's my soup buddy. And Dave was like, your soup buddy? Because I was sitting in here eating soup, just with all the equipment connected. And like, so all the lights are on, and I'm just sitting in front of my phone eating soup. And he was like... I was like, don't talk to me. And then Scout's in here. Scout, you want to be on camera? You big galoot? No one sees you very often. Hey, idiot. Come here. Come here. You want Cole?
Go over there.
He's... Oh, God. He doesn't know what you're doing. Don't lick that. Don't lick that book.
Just chill. Chill. Doofenshmirtz. He's gonna knock over this ring light.
He's such a good dog, though. Ow.
He's a great dog. He just doesn't know how much he weighs.
He thinks he's tiny.
He thinks he's tiny and he's gonna be totally fine. He used to try and get up on the couch all the time when he was like huge. And we always were like afraid he was gonna break the furniture because he'd get on it and he'd just go and make all this creaking spring noise like and then we're like jeez. Occasionally I'll still hear him go in there and try and get up on the couch and I'm like, no,
There,
down.
now you can
don't
turn
do
it
that.
so they can see him.
Yeah, okay. He's calmed down a little bit now. I can't see the phone, so you'll have
right
to...
there. Turn his head. Woof. Look at that doofus. Doofenshmirtz.
He's a big old boy.
I'm getting high, Scout.
Such a big boy. Such a good boy. He just has no idea he's that large. And he licked the cover of... He licked it! I knew he licked it!
Weirdo. Weirdo. That's right, I'm poking your thigh.
The other day, I came home late, and I knew I came home late. Nate's in charge of scheduling for the next, like, week. But, like, this week, he really dropped the ball. Like, so hard. To the point where, like, management was about to riot. So then... Sean was trying to redo the schedule before we all left, and so we left like an hour later so that he could rework the schedule because it was just that messed up. So I got home late, and I went to go walk in the door, and he pushed open the door and just stuck his nose out, freezing cold outside, and then licked my fingers before I had even gotten the door 3 inches open, and I was just like, like it was really cold, and then it was wet, and I was like, no, why did you do this? I'm holding so many things. My vape was in this hand. I gotta clean this nozzle. Like,
Are you hungry?
am I hungry?
Yeah. Because you can have a cardigan Uncrustable.
Did you just have an Uncrustable in your pocket?
I have more than one.
Gives 5-star licks. It is a really good book. If you have a dark sense of humor, you'll really like it. If you have a healthy optimism about death, it's a good book. If you have a lot of anxiety about death, maybe don't read it. It can be triggering. There's a near-death experience and explanation in there. There's a lot of insider baseball, sort of death industry procedural stuff in the book. But it's also really funny, and she's got like a really unique way of writing, and it's really fun.
I love her writing.
Each chapter is dedicated to like a kind of sort of like thought process on a particular death theme. Like one chapter is like dead babies, and then like another one is like death through history, and like another one is like...
That's the one where she just goes through how
typical,
not... From Here to Eternity is the one where she goes through all the different practices,
From
right?
Here to Eternity is how different locations participate in different death rituals.
That's right.
So it goes through a couple places in the U.S., but mostly it's like abroad. Like Sky Burial and all the fun stuff.
That's me.
The cool, fun ways to die.
And
And
throw me out in the woods, I'll be fine.
this one... And this one is more of how, like, her journey into getting into the death industry and how it affected her mentally and emotionally, with different things that she had to do. Like, just stuff that you don't think about, like having to shave your first dead man, how to cremate babies, what they do with bodies that are unclaimed, stuff like that. Kind of dark stuff, like if you're like easily triggered, or like if you ever fall into a marginalized group and you've ever thought like, I could die alone in this house and no one would ever find me, like it wouldn't be until I started to smell, and then maybe I would get reported and nobody would claim my body, like that sort of stuff. That can be pretty dark if you
have that sort of mentality. So just be warned before you read that, if you have anything like that. But it's very interesting, and interesting, and it can be really funny. I bummed him out with my weird death talk. He's
staring at the door to the living room and just crying.
Oh, he wants Dave. You can go open the door. He wants Dave.
Scout. Scout. Come on. Dad.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's like a common kind of reality. There's like some people who have different feelings on different dead family members, and not all of them are great. I'm sure you have like a couple family members that if you've had uncharitable thoughts toward, or know that they feel pretty uncharitable about you and they died and you were the only one left,
do you really want to climb the body?
would you want to pay for the remains? Because you have to pay money.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to do that? Like, and that's like a serious question that some people have to ask themselves, and you go down a steep path. And then some people are willing to pay it but don't want to be reminded. They don't place an urn on the mantle. They don't want your memory around. Put you in storage, put you in the attic, put you in the trunk of the car. And I mean, that's kind of a thing. It happens. So if you are interested, again, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by Caitlin Doughty. It's nonfiction, but it is like a narrative-based book. Really good. One of my favorite books. I reread it every single year.
It is a really good read.
It's a really good read.
And it's a really good listen, too, because she also narrates her own.
And I know
books.
I'm making it dead depressing. She's actually quite funny.
Oh, she is.
She has a lot of experience in history and, I fucking love it. Yeah, so she'll go into, like, the history of some things, and, like, it's really fun. It's really fun and funny if you can get through the sticky parts. So...
I see what you did there.
I do not want this Uncrustable. Okay. I ate a ton of soup. I believe I mentioned the soup. Pond was my soup buddy. Anyway,
okay, you don't have to eat the Uncrustable.
I just didn't know why you were asking that. Because
it's hilarious having Uncrustables in your pocket.
Well, like, if it was like, you know, I don't know. If it was like, do you want to get Indian food? I'm always going to say yes. I don't care how full I am. It's going to hurt, but I'm going to make it work, okay? That's the thing. It was like, I didn't know it was going to come out of your mouth.
Or like Japanese or something.
Yeah, like if you were like, do you want to get sushi? The answer's always yes.
Well, one, that question would never come out of my mouth.
What?
That question would never come out of my mouth. Do you want sushi?
Well, I know, but like, it could, and that's why I gave you an example explicit to something that is relative to you. Because you would eat Indian food.
Yeah. That's more for the hilarity of just pulling your Uncrustable out of my fucking pocket and handing it to you.
It is a grape Uncrustable. It is a grape Uncrustable.
That's the only good one.
He is just walking around with these bitches in his pocket.
I have 3.
He has 3 in his pockets. Did you put them there deliberately, or did you put the sweater on and then you were like, there's Uncrustables in here?
No, I did it deliberately. I did it deliberately.
That raises further questions because this thing feels fresh.
So I pulled it out at like 6 o'clock.
Here.
Or no, at like right before 8. And then I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna cook. I cooked myself food. So this was completely thawed. So I'm like, fuck it. Might as well take it. And I don't know, maybe Tosh will want one later. I'll grab a couple more.
I might, once I've been into Outer Worlds for about an hour or so. Anyway, we're going to play Outer Worlds because that's what we do. We do the book thing, and we do that every single week on Tuesday at 8 Central, and I hope you all join me next week for next chapter. It should be a fun time, and if you're new here, now you know where to find me every Tuesday at 8, and you can find all the rest on the YouTube. All of it is filled out except for one chapter in Library of Souls, which, once again, I just gotta push through the anxiety of posting that one, because it has me singing in it, and I didn't want to post that one. And this is Spike, and he does not want to be here.
If it's got you singing, it's a good idea you didn't post it.
What? What? What did you say? No, I didn't understand what you were saying.
If it's a good idea. If it's got you singing in it, you shouldn't post it. And that's why I had dropped Jaw over here.
It's so mean.
It's only half as mean as the things you said.
I'm gonna have to go edit it again now. I'm gonna scrap it. I'm gonna redo the bit.
Don't redo the bit. Keep the singing.
No, I gotta redo it now.
You have a pleasing vibrato.
No, I don't. No, I don't. We all know it. This is Spike. He's a good boy. He's a good boy.
Him sends floof into mouth.
Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go think about my life for a while. No, we're gonna play Outer Worlds. That's what I was gonna say. We're gonna play Outer Worlds for a while. And
Yeah.
and then we'll see if the chapter gets uploaded. Now that I think about it. Anyway, I forgot what I was saying before this. What was I talking about?
We were talking about Outer Worlds and unsure if you were going to post it.
Yeah.
And then fucking whack-ass bullshit happened.
Yeah.
As usual. We should be used to it by now, but we never are. It's like the fucking needle tomato all over again.
Thank you, Kalika, for the compliment. I appreciate that. Anyway, we're going to play video games, and if you want to join us, we're over on the Discord. A link is in my TikTok description. And you can find it there, and you can join us for video games. And we're going to do that now. I am going to take a short break and make some tea. Needle tomato? Is there a needle tomato in here?
I don't think so.
Okay. He asked the other day for the needle tomato again, and I was
And
like,
he posted it on his Facebook, too.
pincushion? We can just say pincushion, but he refuses to.
It's not as fun as needle tomato.
Yeah, he was like, he did say it. He did say it. Anyway, so I will see you in about 15 minutes. I'm going to make some tea really quick, and we'll get going on the video game. Thank you all for joining me, and I hope to see you guys next week.